Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you. Happy Friday.
Enjoy your Friday as well. I'm not certain if we ever spoke, but I do know of your existence.
In
Because
in a positive way, I hope.
it's because of the things you organize, I think, these tribal activities, and I think you're pretty close to Hypha.
I'm talking with them a lot, especially over the last few months. So I'm trying to figure out how close to them I am actually.
Okay, now I'm very close to them. Uh, Come on, why is this not working?
Just a second, let me put my tea on.
So you asked an open question on how to organize financial and equity and loan and bonds and whatever streams on a platform in a way that was limited, but probably your question is much bigger than that, in a way that you can keep your cap table clean. So investors need to see your 20 whatever developers. They just see a clean company with a few founders, all the employees together, and
Yeah, so there is two things that I'm trying to figure out how to solve for. On the classical financial side, it's exactly what you said, to keep the cap table clean. On the contributor side, how to account for the fact that in the modern day, we're all working fractionally, dynamically. You know, we start a project today. I can't guarantee you how much I'm going to work 6 months from now, because things will change and we will also discover over the course of the project, right? And there's a lot of people who can come in and help for 10, 20 hours, but they don't become employees or all of this, right? So there's this, on the one hand, the classical system of shares is just not capable, not designed for people coming and going in this kind of dynamic work, and rightfully fall. And I actually am part of a stock corporation. I've had to put 20 or 30 boxes on a PDF for a DocuSign. So I understand why the investors don't like to see that. I've had to put those bloody boxes in and run around with 20 people click on a DocuSign. So there's good practical reasons for not wanting that. On the other hand, the reality is such there is so many people who can contribute, but until you get well funded, you're not paying them cash. So yeah, those are the two things I'm trying to solve for.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know how much you know about how Hypha works, but this is exactly what we are doing. So let's make first a separation. I'm mainly from Hypha Energy. And Hypha Energy has a couple of mothers. One of them is Hypha DAO. So that's Hypha.earth. That's the guys you speak to, like Ronnie and Joachim and Alex and whatever. And they use a utility token. And the utility token represents your contributions to the whole. And that adds up in time. So if Victor does a piece of work, for example, let's say you do a campaign somewhere, then you first say, okay, I'm going to do a campaign. If you like me doing that campaign and you like my work, I want to get paid 10,000 of these internal tokens. And then we imagine that all these tokens are worth $1 because in the future they will have a value within the ecosystem. That's when people start to pay for the services of Hypha DAO. So somewhere in the future there will be an economical value attached to that. That model is used by many crypto companies, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It does work when you have an excellent product with an excellent team and an excellent idea, and if you're not too greedy as founders. Because if you are too greedy as founders, it never flies. Many of the ICO companies, if you know what an ICO is, token offerings, were based on that model. All right, so that is number one. In Hypha Energy, we went for a different route, recognizing that this can work, by the way. We went for a different route for several reasons. One is we want to mimic the legal entity of our customers, and many of our legal customers are cooperatives. So they're energy cooperatives, group of people, maybe municipality in there, maybe a couple of companies, local companies in there, and they co-invest in energy assets. They steer that, they control that together, and they get the offtake. And then there's a mechanism to make sure that everybody gets a fair share of what's produced. Now, since they are all cooperatives, we need a legal wrapper. Since we have a legal wrapper around that, we can organize the contributions done by all the members in a different way, which is like a share. And then a little, depending on the country where you come from, these shares are can be called shares, or if it's the Netherlands, because we're not allowed to call them shares if it's a cooperative, we need to call them participations by law. Okay, whatever. So we call these things e-shares, from electronic or whatever we have as a word. You can come up with your own word here, e-shares and e-parts. It's the same thing. So let's call them e-shares for the discussion that we have. So suddenly we have shares. The shares have a status of a capital or other type of contribution by the member of that space. The space is, in this case, everybody who is member of the cooperative. And you can put in several types of contribution as long as they are acknowledged by the space. So this can be capital. You put in 100,000 euros, you get 100,000 shares, or whatever the value is of a share. Or it is a piece of work. I can say I'm going to do for 10,000 euros work. If you acknowledge that, I'm willing to accept it in shares. People vote on that. If the answer is yes, we accept that, then I get 10,000 shares, e-shares, for my work. I can also put in IP, or I can put in maybe, hey, you want to rent my space, that's fine, but I want to have 1,000 shares per month for that, etc., etc. So any form of participation is suddenly accepted. And when you start, the genesis moment, when you start a space like this, you could do that in a way that you give to your founders much more than you would do in the future. In the beginning, you say, okay, our idea is very valuable. We think it's worth 1 million euros. We have 3 founders. So these 3 founders all get 333,000 shares to start with. And after that, others come in and come in and come in. That means that these founders in the beginning will have almost all the voting rights and all the economical rights. Now, yeah, probably there's not that much economical stuff because we are a startup, correct, in this example. But the voting rights, so they can steer it according to their vision, but they will water down. And after a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on how fast your community grows, these founders will have a minority. Now, everybody who works, even if there is cash, suppose you have 1 million euros because you put 1 million euros in the beginning, there is money now. Everybody can decide which percentage of your participation is paid in cash and which part is paid in shares. So I could put it on 50%. I do 10,000 euros of work. I get 5,000 euros and 5,000 shares. You can connect your voice. You know voice, correct? The Hypha way of voting. They call it voice. You can make this one human, one vote. Everybody has the same. Or you can say, no, this is based on my participation. So the more I put in, the more voice I have. In this case, the founders would have, remember, 333,000 voice tokens. And somebody that gets in, I come in tomorrow, I do for 10,000.
Is it possible to separate the voice from the economic?
Of course, you can base it on any other thing. You can even do it on nothing, like one person, one vote, and you base it on your soul-bound token. So on the fact that you are human, that's where you base it upon. But you can also base it on the turnover that each of the companies within the ecosystem has. The more turnover you have, the more voice you have. Or you can base it on the fact that you have 3 groups: citizens, companies, and municipalities, where municipalities get C votes and the companies get B votes and the households get A votes, and then they have different weight, whatever you want. So the only limitation that we have are legal, because in most countries there's a limitation in what you can do if you have an association or a cooperative. You have limitations here. With companies, you have less limitations. We have more freedom. So if it's limited, but then limited company might not mimic the type of energy that you like to have within that group. So this is trade-offs, and this is a discussion, and but this can be created. True, we can have a discussion, a smart discussion, and after a couple of this discussion, we will have a design. And it's also depending on the country where you want to put your legal wrapper, because the Netherlands is not France. Very different rules. Okay, so now we have these shares, these e-shares. We have these voice. They can be connected. They don't need to be connected. We can decide that. That's a design choice. These shares could be, if you want that. So if we all speak about spaces, so we have a circle called a space, and all the members or everybody that is participating in whatever way in the company is in there. Financiers, your employees, the subcontractors, that's what you have. You speak about subcontractors and how to do that. People that are not on the payroll but come in per assignment, which would be a different relationship. That's probably dominant in your model. But if you want to keep it clean, you can say, I put them in subspaces. So all the investors are in one subspace, all the employees are in one subspace, and all the subcontractors are in one subspace. And because it's in one subspace, suddenly your cap table is clean, because now you have 3 groups, or 5, or whatever you want. It's flex. So every space consists of individual members or companies and of subspaces. And the subspace could cluster part of the members. For example, you say, as long as you have less than 100,000 shares, then you are always coming in via this subspace. And only if you go over, then you have a seat at the table directly, and then you can discuss with the other big boys, with the founders and with the big investors. That's it. And otherwise, that space has one voice around the table on behalf of all the other ones. So they vote who is going to represent them. And that representative is the one that you speak to. And that keeps it clean.
And so right now, the wrapper that you have developed is in Holland through a Dutch entity, yes?
Correct. We do this currently with a cooperative. And there are several reasons why that model is preferred. But the alternative would be that you have a limited company, and that the limited company puts all its shares in a foundation. That's a very standard model in the Netherlands, by the way. And then that foundation tokenizes all the shares to e-shares. And these e-shares are then going to your financial investors, to your personnel, to your subcontractors, to everybody that participates. And then the foundation has members. You could say everybody with 100,000 shares or more has a place in the foundation board. And then you organize it. That's your alternative.
Do you have this written up? And how much does it cost to set up the wrapper?
So we work with a preferred notary that did this and studied this whole tokenization a lot. And I think that if it's just for his costs, it's probably, so cooperative is probably a few €1,000, and a STAK with a limited is probably the same. Maybe €1,000 more because you need a foundation on top of that. And that is if you have a clear design. And you make the design with him. So that's where your costs go up, of course, because every entity costs you €1,000, not more. So the rest of the time is, or less than €1,000. So the rest of the money, the rest of the money that you need to pay is for him understanding your design. Or you hire me or one of the other people that understand this. I'm not the only one. So someone you like, and they do a couple of meetings with you. Collectively, you design something that fits. And this is probably, if I would do this, this is probably a day or 2 or 3, not more. So that's limited. And then you would have design, and then you go with that design to the notary, and then he probably says, yeah, you can't do it like this. So he does a couple of minor movements to make sure that it fits. Because we want to put more power sometimes into a circle than we are allowed by law. You can't take away the rights of capital owners, for example, even if you do it via this foundation on top of it, or even if you do it via a circle within your cooperative. But okay, these type of things, and most of them we understand by now. And it's nice if you can make it specific for the use case that you have. So I would say that 1,000 euros per entity plus a little extra for so 3,000, 4,000 for the notary and a few thousand euros for the one helping you to do it. If you didn't do this yourself before.
Okay, so I mean, it's still within the manageable, typical range of setting up a company. Not as cheap as Estonia, but manageable. I'm asking because I know people that have set up things to own land in Portugal, and it was like 50,000 euros in Switzerland. So some of these things connected to DAO structures seem to be quite expensive, but
It's also because it's their business model and they want to earn their money there, and they don't sell 10 of them, they sell a few of them per year. I think for me, we went through the pain, we did it already. You might be a little different, but not that different. And I try to onboard as many people as possible within this whole Hypha infrastructure, because I think that the more use cases we have, the better it is. So for me, this is not the way I earn my money. I'm not depending on it at all. I just want to have my time compensated and we're fine.
yeah, of course. I mean, I understand. Cool. Yeah, because I think, I mean, for the purposes, I mean, just in general, we're building a digital services company, let's say, with some products, some services. And I think setting up this path of where you can start building your organization as a DAO using digital tools and thus not setting up any legal entity. And then when you go to set up a legal entity, do it in such a way that the investors invest in a standard company, and the part that belongs to all of the people that contributed to the development is owned by a DAO-backed company. I think that kind of a structure would be really attractive to a lot of people, because you can start cheap and then you have a direct path to taking money in from standard entities.
So we try to integrate this one step further than you now described. And what you say, of course, is possible. That was one of our first thoughts. Hypha Energy would have a limited company. That's the vehicle that gets the investments. And then part of the ownership would be in the hands of a DAO. But it means that's pretty complex to do. That means that it's always going back to the individual if you organize it properly. Because if you have 1 million shares and I have 100,000 shares and I do something illegal and they can't get the money from me, you want to be certain that they can't get it from you either, correct? This is one of the reasons why you have an entity in between, so a limited or cooperative or an association, is to protect the individual for mistakes made by that individual or any of the other individuals. So you need to make sure that you have that layer correct. But okay, that's also possible with a DAO, by the way, that is possible. But you want to have a bank account. How do you do that exactly? So DAOs can't have bank accounts. So you can have a Web3 account, of course. So you can accept stable coins and do everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would expect two legal entities. One is the functioning operating one, and the other one is the employee participation one, which is a DAO with some sort of a legal wrapper, either this foundation or
We integrated this fully. So in our case, the limited company with STAK or the cooperative, which is the preferred model, but it's more difficult to get the investors in that because they don't like cooperatives. So there are two options here. So this is something we need to clear. But suppose you go for the cooperative model, it would be the same for the other one. That is a DAO with a legal wrapper. That means that all the rules that we have within the DAO are, as far as we need to for the law, also in the constitution. in the constitutional papers. So we make that as thin as possible, but we are obliged to have certain things in there. And then we have bylaws that organize the things that we didn't organize in the constitution and that we might want to change somewhere. For example, a decision that we put 10% of all our profits into environmental projects in Kenya, whatever. That could be a policy, but you don't want to have that in your constitution. You want to be able to change that on any moment. So when there is a majority of votes, you want to be able to do something else instead of that. So that's all in the bylaws. And then these bylaws are, at the genesis moment, the first decision that you make as members. So people come in as members, they have certain vote rights, so and certain number of voice. Then they vote on these bylaws. Of course, they discuss this first, and then when this is all discussed and agreed upon, you vote for it, and then that is the internal policy that everybody needs to follow. And you can't go against that. You can go only against it after you change it, so you need to have amendments there. It's like your internal, almost like a constitution, correct? Except that, but then the non-legal part of it, it's the mutual part of it. And things that you could say is everybody under a certain percentage, or all the employees, or all the subcontractors that are not a company are automatically in a sub-DAO and are seen in the cap table in one line. That's a decision that you make as a policy. It's that simple. And if that thing is a legal entity in itself, you don't need that, but you can. If you would do that, the only reason why you would do that is because they want to have a IBAN bank account. But if you are happy with a Web3 bank account, then you don't need it. So the question is all the time, how is your connection to Web2? Who are your customers? In our case, many of our customers are old people like me, and like you, by the way, but not like the hipsters and the digital nomads. They have a life and IT is not their main thing, whatever. And we have a lot of municipalities as customers. Now try to get them in a Web3 tool. So we need to have a legal wrapper with a normal IBAN account that can send out debit and credit invoices to all the customers. Otherwise, we will never onboard them. So since that is a principle for us, we needed to have a legal wrapper. And then we mimic what's happening on our IBAN bank account. We mimic that in a Web3 stablecoin account. That's sort of the root. So there's no difference anymore. I don't care if you pay me in EURC or if you pay me in euros. It's for me the same. In the bookkeeping, it's the same. It's just two bank accounts or even one bank account if the innovations we are waiting for at the moment happen. So next year, there will be several financial entities, including banks, by the way, including Stripe, including Circle itself, will offer integrated IBAN Web3 stablecoin accounts. And then there is no difference anymore. People don't, I don't care anymore if you are here or there. I care that you can pay me in one of the two.
Yes, so I'm just drawing quickly. The way I imagine it, so, and you can tell me, so this is the OpCo is the operating company, and actually, so it's a standard LTD or something along those lines, and it does business normally. It has financial investors, and it has this ECO, which is which is a DAO wrapped in some sort of a shell. So this shell, you're saying, would be in Holland a cooperative or a foundation, yes?
So my first question to you, because I think you make it more complex than needed.
Okay.
My first question to you is, why is OpCo not a DAO? I can't see why.
Because I want to take standard money from standard investors and not have them think about it.
So in that case, make sure that OpCo looks like a normal company, limited with a foundation on top, like IKEA did, or KLM did, whatever. There are hundreds of companies that have that model. So
I
you
mean,
can.
it's just an LTD. Why does it need a foundation?
So if you want to, because you can split okay. Let me show you a couple of things. Stuck. Where are you? I need to look a couple of things up on my computer. Stuck. PPPTX. So there are no stuck drawings. Okay. So share. So the answer is because it's extremely flexible, it protects you from hostile takeovers. Tax-wise, there is no difference at all. And it's the preferred model by many companies. So a lot of multinational structures in Europe and also outside Europe chose the Dutch STAK Foundation with a company underneath as their preferred model to organize themselves, including U2, the band, IKEA, most supermarket chains in Europe, like all of them in Portugal, Sonai, for example, like KLM, like several banks, including ABN AMRO. They all choose that model, and you don't see the difference from the outside. It's just organized slightly different. So this is the company. The company sells all. It doesn't need to be all, but that's the simplest because now I can tokenize 100%. They sell all of their shares in return for what they call, now the translation in English would be depository receipts. That's the legal definition, but you're not from an Anglo-Saxon country. So in Anglo-Saxon country, they call it depository receipts. In continental Europe, they're called certificates of shares, but they're just tokens. It's the tokenized share. That's it. And because we tokenized the share, we split the legal ownership from the economical ownership. And because you split the legal ownership from the economical ownership, you can also split the voice, so the voting. You can make this.
Sorry. Say that again. You split the legal ownership from the economic ownership.
Correct.
I'm
That's the difference.
So you've separated the legal control from the
No.
economic claims?
So yes, so normally a share has four rights connected. The first one is economical
Yes.
revenues. The second one is voting rights. The
Yes.
third one is the right to be in the meetings. And the fourth one is the right to be informed.
Yes.
So the first two is we always speak about the first two because the other two we take as a given almost.
Yes.
So if the green line up is the legal ownership, so now the company is owned by the foundation, and the foundation in return gives an equal number of tokenized shares. Let's call them security tokens. Let's call them e-shares. Let's call them depository receipts. I don't care how you want to call them, because you're free in how to call them.
But it stripped some of the rights from them, is what you're saying.
Correct, because now we can organize our governance in the foundation, which could still be based, by the way, on your relative ownership, but it doesn't need to be. We can also say planet Earth has one vote, all the employees have one vote, all the investors have 3 votes, the management has one vote, and the whatever has one vote. And suddenly we have a different governance. And the point is you can choose any governance.
But I mean, could you not do that, or it's often done in the jurisdictions that I know by having different classes of shares?
Yeah, you can, and it's more complex than this one. This is hyper simple. So there are many ways of doing this. Of course, you can have voting and non-voting shares and whatever. This is so in the Anglo-Saxon world, they created other ways of doing this. But this model is for a reason the most flexible in the world.
Okay.
And
Okay.
not used that
Understand.
much for tokenization. It's just that we use it to tokenize companies. It's not meant for that because it's there since the 40s, 50s. Bosch is one example of a non-Dutch company. So the Bosch, not Siemens, but Bosch. The Bosch founder put all his shares in a foundation and then tokenized the shares, which he gave to his family members. And he stripped them from voting rights. And he made sure that all the voting rights are for the management. That means that the company owns itself. Think about it. So you will find it in other examples too, and also in Switzerland, but the Dutch one is the strongest with most jurisdiction and it's super clear what you can do, what you cannot do without any doubt. And if you go to court ever, then the judge knows exactly how to rule.
Understood. Okay. The picture helped a lot. So I understand what you're doing now. Okay.
So how would this work? Because I go one step further. Founders came up with the idea. The team comes in with time. Investors come in with money, so they all contribute in a different way, and it could be IP, it could be whatever, correct? And they get, does it still work? No, it doesn't, okay. And there should be more like lines here, red lines, this is an old presentation, I
Yeah, I
think.
understand. I understand.
So they get, if I put in 100,000, I get 100,000 shares, or whatever the price is of a size, the price of a share when we have the genesis. Team puts in 10,000 euros of work, they get 10,000 shares. The founders say, we think that the company is worth 1 million at the beginning. They each get 333,000 shares, like this. And then we have a cap table with all the shares. And yes, you can say the shares of the team members are via a separate space. And now I have in the company, which is a DAO. This whole structure, by the way, is the DAO. And in here, I have a small group, which is all the team members. And these team members come always with one voice. So they have one voice in the foundation or whatever, because you are almost free. It's not totally free. You're almost free to do what you like in the governance layer. I say almost because you are.
No, I understand. I mean, of course, there is.
So the equity owners, the one that brought in the money, so all these people that brought in participations, still have a say in the thing, but it could be already enough if they need to agree on the people that are board foundation. That's already enough. So that's very, very limited. They can block something, but they can't propose something. Except if you want that, because you can make them the core. You can say these people are in the foundation of the board. You can. But then you lose the reason why you did it.
Right.
The other drawing that I like to show to you is the space thinking. So we have members of the space. We have people that like to become a member of the space. There is a gatekeeper here. That's the policy that you have to allow somebody to become a member. For example, you need to pay 100 euros and you're a member. Or you need to live in Amsterdam and you need to prove that with your address. Otherwise, you can't become a member. Or you want to be an investor, that's fine, but you need to go through a KYC AML process. I want to know your passport and where you live. Or whatever. So whatever you want. So this is a decision by the space. How do you become a member? But there are also parties, these mid-blue ones, that are not a member, but you still have to deal with them. So you can imagine that you have consumers, they are not part of the space, but they use the technology to interact with you. They can be maybe customers that influence your development calendar if you're an IT company or whatever it is. You can have external investors that say, I don't want to become an equity investor, I don't want shares, but I want to give you loans or bonds. That's this group. They still can have an account within the system. And then we also have other stakeholders. They do not have a direct relationship with you, but this is tax authorities or your competitors or the press or academics or whatever, all these type of things. And if this is a cooperative, and it's almost the same for the model with a STAK and a company underneath, everybody who is active, so the people that are on that moment running the company with activities, they form the core team. Part of that group is the board. They are known in the chambers of commerce, so that's your UBOs, your ultimate beneficiary owners. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. And then these are all the different committees or boards that you have. A supervisory board if you need it, a fiscal board if you're very big and you need it, the engagement and marketing committee, the technical committee, whatever, true? And every circle, every space always chooses its own way of governing itself. Do we do this democratically? Do we do this based on the amount of shares that we have? Do we do this based on something else? You can choose and you can change. If there's a majority to change, you change. This could also be several locations, village 1, village 2, city 1, city 2, region 1, region 2, whatever. And this could also be different target groups that you like to reach. If you have a marketplace functionality built in, this is how you can segment them and make sure that you're specific in your communication to each of these groups. Now, ta-da! Is this helpful?
Yes, now I understand your idea space. I don't think I could have grasped it without the pictures, so thank you for that. I think also where I'm sitting at with now is I really need to go through for this project, understand investors, potential investor roadmap, and then design the legal structure that the investors will be comfortable with. Because I hear you that this structure is used by many big companies, but I wonder
Also
whether
startups, also many startups. It's the preferred model in the Netherlands. One of them, one of the two
Okay.
models. Sorry. So in the Netherlands, at least, VCs are very, they understand this very, very, very well.
Okay.
And if they have any experience in Europe, they will understand that also outside the Netherlands is my claim. And the Netherlands, of course, is very robust legally. At least in the Netherlands, you can go to court and within half a year.
Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt
did it.
about that, and other tax things which make people choose the Netherlands. So nobody questions the legal value of Netherlands. But if people are not familiar with the idea that they invest, but they're not getting governance rights and such.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
that's a design choice that you make, huh?
yeah,
So you make the design choice. You could say to a fund, especially if they doubt a little, you say, all right, listen, in 5 years' time, your shares will have equal voting rights as my shares. But we give you the right in the first 5 years to, for example, decide on the remuneration of the directors. We give you the right to enforce drag-along and tag-along rules. So to make sure that if you want to go for the second round, or if you want to sell the company to a institutional, for example, that we need to follow with a minimum percentage of the other founders, obviously. And so that's the type of things that they will demand from you, and you can build that in. So you give them a veto right over certain type of decisions, or you give them the only right on certain types of decisions, if you want that. So I don't think it's a good idea, by the way, but this is a negotiation, correct? Where you give and take. So
right.
the former company where we did this, and they said, all right, so we want to have 20% or so 10% of the equity and the votes. And then in the second round, we go up as we go up, depending on the valuation of the company on that moment. And we want to have the first right of refusal. And then in the third round, we probably have a minority share. That is fine, by the way, but we want to force you to sell, but only if at least 60% of all the other shareholders are supporting it. Meaning they are going to lobby. And if 60% says, I go for the buyout and take the couple of million and I'm done with this, then suddenly the company becomes part of a corporate. Now, we didn't like that very much. So we needed to trust on the fact that all the other shareholders would not vote with them. But of course, we can't be certain, correct? This is freedom. Yes.
Oh, hello? Hello? You cut out
Yes,
for,
I'm back. I'm back. I'm back.
yeah.
Because this day is one of these days where I have back-to-back calls.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. It helps
7:30
hugely.
in the morning.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for this explanation. Shall we share it on the, shall we post it on the internet? I think it's very useful. I think a lot of people would enjoy hearing this model. What do you think?
So can you tell me where do you want to post it?
I mean, if it's okay,
Okay.
the AI is there. So I usually post good conversations on YouTube and share on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm losing you.
Yeah, you can do that. You can
Cool.
do that.
All right. Well, I'll let you enjoy the rest of
So I
your
prefer a
Friday.
little moderation if you do it. And I would like to be the one that helps you because I have a double goal. One of them is bringing you into the Hypha ecosystem with your solution and make sure that you create a DAO with a legal wrapper, because you will be the second one doing that, and the rest is a little afraid for it. But I think you're very close in your thinking to that, and then take it from there. And we have an excellent notary, and my network in the Netherlands is very good. So where are you from, Victor? Which country?
I am based in I'm based in Portugal. I was born in Poland. I have a Canadian passport, and I
Ah,
spent longest as an adult in Japan.
serious. Okay, so you're like me, sort of. I'm born in the Netherlands, lived there most of my life, studied there, but lived in Norway for 5 years, and now I live 8 years in Portugal.
Ah, you're in Portugal as well. Oh, wow. Whereabouts
Yeah,
are you?
I'm in Peniche and in Lisbon.
Ah, so you pass by my house regularly. I'm in Torres Vedras.
Then I pass at least twice a week because we
Okay,
have one
well,
kiddo that is in Peniche going to high school last year, and another kid that is in Lisbon working as a bartender, as a mixologist, as he calls it. Yes.
amazing. Well, maybe pass by for tea one day when we're like 10 minutes from the Torres Vedras exit.
Okay. Yeah. So I like that idea a lot, especially if I travel alone. And if I'm going to support you, that definitely will happen because life is much easier. Correct?
Definitely.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much too. Bye bye.